Okay, so second half of the CBA review. Some of this is really similar to what we did yesterday. Your CBA's tomorrow, 10 questions, multiple choice. It counts as a quiz grade. And then after that, you get 4 days off. So look at the top two. Which way is number 1 going to be shifted if they put a +5 here? Will it be up, down, left, right? Okay, if it's in parentheses with the X, then it's going to be side to side. But if it's not in parentheses, that means it's an up or down. Which one will it be? Up 5. Okay, and then the 3 in the front, what does that tell me?
Vertical stretch.
Vertical stretch. Good. Remember we talked about that yesterday? That if it's a number that's bigger than 1, it counts as a stretch. Okay? Then on the next one, you should be able to do that. You're just looking for each of the pieces. Okay? Go down to the next two. Remember that for logs, you have a vertical asymptote. So if I'm doing number 3, I have a +2 in here. Which way are we shifting? There's a +2 on the inside. We're shifting to the left, right? And then +3 is going to be up 3. Good. So left 2, up 3, that puts me here. And then remember, as we said, if it's a log, you have a vertical asymptote. So your line should be like that. Okay? Then from there, remember, you step 1 to the side. And then your log graph goes up and away, down and towards, like that. Remember, it shouldn't ever technically cross your line. It should just get really, really, really close to it. Okay, also remember that if they asked you the equation for the vertical asymptote, it would be x equals -2. And you can just look at whatever's with x and then change the sign. So if it's an x +2, that means the asymptote will be -2. Okay? Hopefully you can do 4 from that. Come down to your next one. Okay, the first 3 we're going to condense. So what can I move on? Let's do number 6. What terms can move on number 6?
What do you mean condense?
Well, so we're actually going to condense down here. Oh, wait, hold on. Condense here and then expand here. So never mind. Pretend I didn't say that. Okay, so look at number 6. Condense is the same as simplify, like where you're putting multiple logs together. So if I'm doing this one, I'm going to take my 5, move it up. I'm going to take my 7, move it up. And then I'm going to take my 4, move it up. Then from there, I'm going to go 2 at a time. I'm going to do these 2 first. If I have the natural log of 2 to the 5th plus the natural log of x to the 7, what do I do with 2 to the 5th and x to the 7? Multiply. So I'll have the natural log of 2 to the 5th times x to the 7. Okay, then from there, I notice that my logs are still added. Remember that if it's plus in the middle, then you're going to multiply 1 more time. And when I multiply this stuff times y to the 4th, I basically am just listing it out. Since they're not the same type of thing, you can't really put them together more than that. Now, if you remember what 2 to the 5th is, it's on that common base chart. 2 to the 5th is 32. So you could write it like this. 32 x7 y4. And you will get to use your common base chart on your CBA, so if you want to have that, you'll have it. Okay? All right, take a look at number 7. First thing I'm going to do is move these fractions up. My 1/2 bumps up, my 1/3 bumps up. Then the other thing that you should remember is that a 1/2 power is the same as what type of root? 1/2 is a square root, and what about 1/3? Cube root. So really I have log little 2 of square root x minus 1 minus log little 2 of cube root x plus 3. So I move my 1/2 and my 1/3 up, and then I turn them into roots to get rid of the power. Okay, from there, my logs are subtracted. What do you do with your arguments if your logs are subtracted? Divide. So it'll be log little 2 of square root x minus 1 divided by cubic root x plus 3. And that would be your answer. So you would turn them into roots and then subtract them because they're divided. Okay? Next one, let's do number 9. Number 9, first thing I notice is that my natural log has a divided by plugged into it. If it's a divided by, how do I separate? Plus or minus? Subtract, good. So it'll be ln of 6x squared minus ln of y 4. So the first thing I do is I break it down into a subtraction problem. And then the second thing that I do is my 6 and my x squared, they don't want to share the same log. So right now, 6 and x squared are multiplied. So for me to pull them apart, I have to add their logs separately. So it'll be the ln of 6 plus the ln of x squared minus the ln of y 4. Now there's one other thing that you can do to those now that they each have their own log, and that's the exponent. Remember, all these little numbers up top need to move down to be in the front. So for your final answer, I'm going to be lazy and just cross them out. Okay, I'm going to cross my 2 out, put it here. I'm going to cross my 4 out and put it here. And that would be your answer for expanding. Okay. Take a look at number 10 right next to it. Okay, number 10, I notice that I have a big parentheses with a 4 on the outside. Okay, that 4 has to move first. I'm going to move it down to the front. So that now I have 4 log 6 of 3x. Sure, yeah. And then 3 and x are multiplied, so for me to split them up, I have to do it by addition. Good. So it'd be 4 log 6 of 3 plus log 6 of x. And then remember that since the 4 was originally on the outside, it needs to stay on the outside. So you'll keep parentheses right there. Okay? Alright, next little set. So the other thing you need to remember how to do is how to solve. So let's say you're doing number 11. How do I get rid of an ln off both sides? How do you cancel out an ln? You e it. Good. And when I e on both sides, remember that if you have an ln and an e, they cross out. So this ln is gone and this ln is gone. And then you're just left with x stuff and you can solve it from there. So it'd be 4x minus 7, x plus 5. Then we want to bring the baby to the mama, so we're going to minus the x across because it's smaller. X and minus x cross out over here. And then 4x take away an x is 3x left over. What is our next step to get x by itself? Add the 7. 5 plus 7 gives me 12. And then if 3x is 12 divided by 3, x is going to be what? 4. Good. Okay. Next one, let's do number 12. I'm not going to do it, but how do you get rid of the log 2? Do you remember? 2 both sides. So you'll 2 this side and 2 that side. And then remember your 2 and your log 2 are going to cross out. And you'll have 5x minus 17 equals. And then 2 to the 3 is 2 up to the 3. And you would type that into the calculator. Or if you have your chart, what's 2 to the 3? 8. Okay, and then you just keep solving that one. Okay, take a look at number 13. So 12 you'll finish on your own. 13, I have 2 logs. You cannot raise both sides if your logs are on the same side. So instead, what I'm going to do is, if this is a plus here, I need to multiply these guys. Okay, I need to combine my logs to be together inside one log. So when I do that, I'm going to do x plus 4, or x plus 12, multiplied by another x. That's going to require distributing. Okay? So x times x, what do we get? Okay, so log little 4 of x squared, and then x times 12 is 12x. And then equals 3. So I take my two logs, I combine them into one log, and now to get rid of the log 4, I can base 4 both sides. So I'm going to 4 this side and 4 that side. And then remember that your 4 and your log 4 are going to cross out with each other. My x squared plus 12x carries down. And then 4 to the 3 you would put in your calculator. That gives me what?
64.
Good. Now, if it equals 64 on this side, okay, I see I'm going to have to t-chart, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that over to this side as a minus 64. And then from there, you're going to be t-charting. Okay? So, negative 64 at the top of your chart. I have 1 times 64, 2 times 32, 4 times what? 4 times 16, right? And then I can stop there because 4 and 16, what do they subtract 2 in the middle? 12, which is what we want. Now, do I want to put the minus on the 4 side or the 16 side? The 4 side. Because I want 16 minus 4 to give me positive 12. Divide by x. So I have x minus 4 and x plus 16, which means what are my two x's? Positive 4, negative 16. Good job. Positive 4 and negative 16. Alright, flip over to the other side. A couple more left. Good. Okay, if you are wanting to write the inverse, okay, remember the inverse is when you switch x and y. So if I'm wanting to do number 14, I'm going to rewrite this instead of y equals, I'm going to turn it into x equals, and then e to the negative 5y minus 8. And then remember, after I switch the letters, I have to also switch the sides. So I'm going to let my e to the minus 5y come first, and my x come second. So I switch the letters, then I take the sides, and I reverse them. Okay, what would I do first to get y by itself if there's a minus 8? You would have to plus the 8 across. So now on the other side I have e to the minus 5y equals x plus 8. What would I do to get rid of the e now? ln both sides. And then my e and my ln are gone, so that's just a negative 5y. And then for my last step, how do I get rid of the negative 5 in front of the y? Divide. So if I have negative 5y equals ln x plus 8, then I need to divide by negative 5 and negative 5. And that would be your answer. So I'm going to write it over here since I kind of ended up running out of room. But it would be y equals ln x plus 8 and then over negative 5. Now, I want to point some stuff out to you just to kind of have you notice some things that are going on. First thing, I had a minus 8 on the outside. What did my inverse end up having in it? A plus 8 on the inside. Okay, then I had a times 5 on the inside. What does my answer have? A divided by 5 on the outside. Okay, so remember, for your inverses, that's always true. Okay, that whatever you start with, you're going to still have it in your answer, but it'll be the opposite. Okay? Number 15, I'm going to change it to x equals 1/2 log little 4 of y plus 5. And then after I switch the letters, I'm going to also switch the sides. So I'm going to let this side come first, x come second. So it'll be 1/2 log 4y plus 5 equals x. Oh, thank you. I want chocolate chip. Of course. Okay? Then from there, how do you get rid of the 1/2? Multiply by 2. So now it's a 2x. And then how do I get rid of the log little 4? Power of 4 both sides. So 4 and 4. So my half is gone. My 4 log 4 is gone. All that's left is a y plus 5. And then if I have 4 to the 2x, what's my last step to get rid of the plus 5? When I move it over, it'll be a minus 5. So it'll be 4 to the 2x minus 5. Okay? And then look back at your original and notice the differences, right? I had a 1/2, now I have a times by 2. I had a plus 5 in the middle, now I have a minus 5 on the outside. I started with a log 4, I ended with a 4 base. So those patterns are always going to be there. And then since your CBA is multiple choice, probably you can pick the right answer just from knowing that. Okay? Alright, last couple. Okay, it says rewrite the equation solving for A in terms of L. So that means that I'm going to switch my sides around. And I'm going to let that equal L. So basically what they're asking you to do is to solve for A. So that's literally what you just did. They're just not called X and Y anymore. Now they're called L and A. So what would I do first to get my L by itself? Or to get my A by itself? With the 45. Minus the 45 across. And then notice that when I write it on the other side, I'm just going to put it behind the L. Because I know I can't put them together. One's a letter, one's a number. Okay, from here, how do I get rid of this negative 25.7 here? I'm going to have to do what? Okay, if it's multiplied with the E though, then I'm actually going to have to divide. If it's right in front like that, you divide to get rid of it. So I'm going to have divide by negative 25.7. Negative 25.7. Okay, so these guys are gone. So I subtracted the 45 across. I divided the number out of the way. Now I just have an E as a base. How do you get rid of an E? Good. So when I'm at this step, this is supposed to be an equal sign. It looks kind of weird. Okay, to get rid of my E, I have to ln and ln. And when I ln the E, these guys cross out. My A is almost alone. It just has a number in front. How do you get rid of that number in the front? Divide. Now, to make it not look as ugly, do we remember that, like, if you're dividing by 2, you can put a 1/2. If you want to divide by 3, you can put a 1/3. So for my final answer, I'm going to write it like this. A equals negative, 1 over negative 0.09. And then ln, L minus 45 over 25.7. But keep in mind that if I put the negative 0.09 that was here on the bottom, that's the same as me dividing. It just looks a little different. Okay? Then it says, use the equation in part A to find the age of an elephant whose footprint measures 36. Okay, read the question. Is 36 the L or the A if it's his footprint? It's the L. Very good. So 36, I'm going to plug that in for L. And now notice that since I already solved all this junk, okay, that's going to make it easy for me to plug it in because I literally just have to type this in with the 36 in that spot. So in the calculator, you're going to put 1 over negative 0.09 ln 36 minus 45 over negative 25.7. And then whatever answer we get, that's going to be your final answer. If you do not remember how to open the fraction bar, remember that it's, I'll show you up here. Okay, the fraction bar is alpha y equals. So look, watch if you don't remember. you'll push alpha, and then y equals, and it's n over d. So I'll put 1 over negative 0.09. Then I'll do my ln. And then in my ln, I need another fraction, alpha y equals. And I'm going to put 36 minus 45 on top, divided by negative 25.7. Okay? Just like that. So you're typing in exactly what's on your paper. Okay, the elephant would be about 11 years old. Okay? Alright, next question says you purchase a lamp for $150. The value of the lamp increases by 2.15% each year. Write an exponential model that gives the value of the lamp t years after you purchase it. Here's your equation. P1 plus or minus r to the n. Okay, let's review what each of those stand for. Remember, P is the principal or the original amount. R is the percent that it's going up or down by. And then this actually should be a T. Sorry, I put the wrong letter there. And then T stands for time. Okay, so think about for this question, what is my P? What's the initial value of my lamp? Okay, so A equals 150. Then am I going to do 1 plus or 1 minus if my lamp is increasing in value? 1 plus. And then if it's 2.15%, you still have to move the decimal twice. So if it's 2.15%, I'm going to move the decimal over once and then twice. So it's going to be 0.0215 up to the t. And now notice that all they asked you to do was to write the equation. You don't have to do anything with it, so you're done. Okay? Next one you should be able to do, go ahead and write the equation first. Okay, read through it. You're following the same model. So it's A equals P1 plus or minus R to the T. Okay, what is the principal amount of medicine in your bloodstream? 325 milligrams. That's how much you started with. Okay, then it says during each subsequent hour, that means every next hour, the amount of medicine decreases by 29%. So 1 plus or 1 minus? 1 minus. Then if I want 29%, what is that as a decimal? 0.29 up to the t. Then in part B it says estimate how long it will take for you to have 100 milligrams of ibuprofen. Okay, are you plugging in 100 for your T or setting it equal to 100? Equal, because 100 milligrams you're going to set it equal. So it'll be 100 equals 325. And then remember, what I would do is crunch this together in your calculator just to make it an easy number. What's $1 minus 29 cents? 71 is your base to the T. Okay, and then when you're solving, what do you do first? Divide by 325. Remember, you can't log right away. You have to wait. So divide by the 325. So those guys are going to cross out. 100 divided by 325 gives me 0.307. We'll just round it to 0.31. Okay, then equals, I have a 0.71 base up to the T. Now, how do I get rid of the 0.71? Log it. Good. And remember, you have to repeat the base. So if it's a 0.71 on the right, you have to 0.71 on both sides. And then you type that into your calculator. Boom, you'd have your answer. Okay? Alpha window 5 on that to pull up your log thing. Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. I'll send him down. Okay, thanks. Osama, you left your backpack and your mom has it. She's in Grand Central. Okay, Mustafa, you said you got it. What was it? 3.4 what?
3.42.
Okay. Well, and if you use the long decimal or the short decimal, I won't take off for that. Either way is good. Okay, but it'll be about 3.5 hours that it would take for it to be down to that amount. Okay? Alright, last one. Wind speed S near the center of a tornado can be modeled by that, where D is the number of miles that the tornado travels. Okay, in 1925, a tornado traveled 220 miles through three states. Estimate the wind speed near the center of the tornado. Where are we plugging in 320 miles? For which one? Well, for S or for D? This one they gave us an equation. So we're just using the equation. Now, sometimes you do have to write it, but in this case, they're just giving us an equation to use. Okay, so if it's the distance it traveled, that would be plug in for D. Okay, I'm going to have you do that one on your own. Then look at the second one. It says the Fujita scale measure classifies each tornado by measuring the wind speed, and F5 has a 318 miles per hour. According to the formula, how far can it travel? Where would you plug in 318 miles per hour? For the D or the S? For the S. And then you're going to have to solve. So I'll help you with part D. B, you'll do part A on your own. So I'm taking 318. I'm going to plug that in for S. So it'll be 318 equals 93 log D. And then plus 65. Okay, what do you do first in solving? Huh? Minus 65. Good. So minus 65 off both sides to cross it out. Okay, what is 318 minus 65? 253. What do I do next? Divide by 93. Good. Following the same order that we solve these by when it's not a word problem. Okay, 253 divided by 93, that gives me, okay, 2.72. So I'm going to write over here, I have log D 2.72. Okay, now I notice that my log doesn't have a base. Okay, if the base is not written, that means it's a base what?
10.
10. So you're going to write in your own little 10 there. And then how do you get rid of a log 10? You have to 10 both sides. So you're going to 10 the log 10. Those guys are inverses, so they cross out. D is the answer, equal to. And then you would put that in your calculator. Remember, that's 10 up to the 2.72. 10 up to the 2.72. So that'd be 524.81. And if that's distance, that would be how many miles the tornado can go if it's that strong. Make sense? Okay, so we did pretty much the whole back. The only part you have to do is part A. And then of the one we just did. And then on the front, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. Okay, so when you're done, you're showing it to me, turning it in if you want to. Or if you want to just show it to me and keep it, you can. CBA's tomorrow. Grades are kind of being updated. I should have your test grades back tomorrow for you to look at them. Okay? Good job.